Hi, I'm the List Girl, and this is my videographic journal.
Hi, I'm the List Girl, and true to the name, I'm a little bit obsessed with lists, of which this channel consists of 3. My bucket list allows me to come out of my comfort zone through experiencing new skills, hobbies, and activities, as well as introducing me to amazing new cultures and lifestyles. Then there's my personal upgrades list designed to help me pick up the traits and habits that I lack in order to grow and develop into a better person. And lastly, there's my career list to keep me on the track to success in both my YouTube career and my business of selling nerdy collectibles. But at the end of the day, I'm just a huge nerd somewhere on the spectrum with way too many hobbies, just trying to prove that life truly is what you make it.
With my list, I set out to discover the world, to discover new cultures, gain new experiences, new skills, but most importantly, I set out to discover myself.
Oh shit, it's been 50 minutes.
So, bucket list goal number... I do this every friggin' time. Is to write 100 lists. Today's list of lists is struggles on the spectrum. By spectrum, I mean the autistic spectrum, where I belong. I don't really have much else to say about that, so let me just jump right in. Number 1, too much stimulus. So with autism comes something called sensory overload, which happens basically every time I go outside, I'm in a public venue or shopping place, literally anywhere that isn't my own house or my family's house. If too much is going on around me, I tend to have what is called sensory overload. This affects hearing, my vision, scent, feeling, touch, literally just all of my senses. So for example, say I'm on a crowded street and there's people walking past and there's cars going by and maybe there's a flickering lamppost or a plane goes by or a bird goes by or rummaging around a plastic bag or there's a cat meowing. All these things going on at the same time. Too much is happening. My brain is trying to process it all in one go. When Georgia and I first started dating, she realised that I really struggled to pay attention to her. But that's because we were generally always going to public places where it tends to be quite busy. And so despite my efforts to pay attention completely to her and give her my full undivided attention and focus, majority of the times there was just way too much going on and I was just like friggin' just everything would grab my attention. And there's a video which I'll link below which is like the most perfect explanation that I've ever seen. It's this animation of autistic sensory overload and it is literally me. I'll leave a link of it in the description below if you're interested to go check that out because it is really useful. Number 2, constantly losing track of time. So something that comes with my autism is hyperfocus, which is both a blessing and a curse. I said blessing instead of blessing. And a lot of the times when I am hyper-focused, I kind of lose track of literally everything, not just time. Environment around me kind of disappears and I'm completely focused, and by the time I'm out of it again, it's several hours later. That might be a task that I'm really, or I might be involved in some sort of activity, research that I'm really into, that's something else that has to do with my autism, which is about having special interests or obsessions with things. A lot of people with autism become obsessed with like science or mathematics. Not me. But a lot of them do, which is why a lot of the most famous scientists and mathematicians that you will know, if you kind of research more into their lifestyle and background, like the most historically famous mathematicians and scientists, the majority of them will happen to be autistic. Einstein, he was apparently autistic. But anyways, if I am engaged in one of my special interests or obsession, whatever, odds are I'm probably hyper-focused, and you can be trying to talk to me, but it will just... and I will lose track of time doing that. When I was younger, this was like genuine, but I'd be playing my video games before bed and Mum would be like, okay, just 5 more minutes, and I'd be like, okay, 5 more minutes, and 2 hours later my mum would come back in the room, she's like, I thought I said 5 minutes, and I was like, I didn't realise 5 minutes were even up. Like in my head it was still like, I don't know, a couple of minutes have gone past. And also when it comes to the lifetime, when it comes to the timeline of my life, I struggle to pinpoint when things have happened. It's kind of a bit chaotic. I know the majority of things that happen because I have a very good memory, but when it comes to putting them somewhere in time on my life timeline, that is something that I also struggle with, because I struggle with time in general. Number 3, hypochondria. The bane of my entire life and the biggest source of my anxiety. Yes, so hypochondria is health anxiety. I have a fear of pain, I have a fear of death. My 3 biggest fears when it comes to health, and these are very much in order, is 1, getting appendicitis, 2, having a heart attack, and 3, getting Alzheimer or some form of dementia. The last 2, the heart attack and the dementia, actually do run in my family, so the odds of me getting those is too high for me to accept. But the first one is kind of like, I have irritable bowel syndrome, so I live with daily digestive pain. I know how bad it is. Like for me, it can sometimes just be debilitating, is that the word? But when I hear people say that appendicitis is the most painful thing that they have ever experienced in their life, I'm like, no thank you. And so over the past couple of years, I have been upset, and I mean obsessed, with making sure that I get a certain amount of fiber intake, and I'm talking about 60-70 grams per day, to avoid that, which is both good and bad. It's good in the sense that I am having lots of nutrients and fiber, which is very good for me, but it's also bad because I'm obsessed with this. And in terms of mental health, it's not so good. And also, this fear also causes me to have very shit sleep. A couple of months back, almost about a year ago, I tried really hard to become an early riser. It was part of my bucket list. It was something I wanted to do, and I still want to do that, but I'm no longer on that track anymore because my hypochondria has gotten really bad since COVID. And it's not just COVID though, it's literally just the thought of getting appendicitis. I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't make it stop. I can't turn it off, and it literally gets to the point where at night, before I go to bed, I can't fall asleep because I'm constantly thinking about it and worrying about it. But I literally stay up anxious and can only fall asleep until I'm completely exhausted. That's pretty bad, isn't it? Number 4, being/feeling constantly out of place.
Imagine this, you're a little caterpillar and you're born into a huge world and you realise that you just don't happen to fit in. So, tune yourself, you adapt, you change, just to realise that you still don't fit in.
That's it, I'm out of here.
Number 5, having conversations and saying the wrong things. Hi, Editing Natasha here. I just want to quickly point out that I am not trying to fat shame. I have no qualms or issues or negative emotions or comments about anybody's shape or size. Anybody's. Right now, Georgia and I are just kind of laughing off an embarrassing kind of moment. We're not trying to laugh at the context. We're literally just laughing at kind of my kind of ignorance in that moment, because when we were there I genuinely kind of, I don't know, I was kind of very into the conversation and I just said there's a lot of options now. I hope I don't put on weight, basically, because I used to be big. This is the part I didn't say, which I should have said, which would have added context to the sentence, but I kind of just left it there and that's why it became embarrassing or like awkward. Because what I should have added on the end was that I used to be big, but I'd been working like really hard to get to my current size, but that would kind of, like, being in Brighton now, would kind of ruin my like new lifestyle kind of thing. But I didn't say that. I kind of just left it at, oh, I hope I don't get fat. And without even thinking, only after it come out of my mouth did I realize, oh, some people at this table probably took offense to that. And I kind of just sat there in shame. And in these clips, you just see George and I kind of joking about the circumstance, not the context. So please don't be like offended. I'm not trying to fat shame anybody, just laughing off an awkward moment. Just putting that out there. I don't want to offend anybody, hurt anybody's feelings. It was just, we were laughing off an awkward moment. Laughing not to cry, basically.
We were at the pub and we were talking about how since coming to Brighton we've got way too many vegan food choices around us. And then we were on sort of like a double date, which your sister was there as well.
Yeah, she was third wheeling or fifth wheeling.
So we were there with another lesbian couple, and yes, we were talking about having way too many vegan options, and then
God, all these options, all these vegan options. Oh God, you know what? You know what? I hope I don't get fat, you know. Oh my God, you know, right? Right? And she was sitting with two ladies and they just kind of went. And since then we've never heard back from them. Then there was a time when I said to me and my sister, she suggested that my grandmother was transgender. That might explain the way she is. So it was just like...
The thing is, when it comes to me saying things that are quite controversial, bit unthought of, my brain works a lot faster than my mouth does. So I'll be like a million thoughts ahead and I'll say something and people be like, it will either be offensive, out of context, or just inappropriate. And in that point, when I suggested that maybe their grandma might be transgender, basically all I meant was the fact that she's very, from what I've heard, I've never met her, I probably never will, but she's very, oh yes, men this, men that, yes, men are perfect, they can never do anything wrong, and like women are the problem kind of thing. And basically what I was trying to say was maybe she likes men so much because she wants to be one. That's where my thoughts had gone.
I think it's just, wrong wording.
But luckily I was with the right people that understand. Sometimes I don't say the right thing.
The other two, the ones that we haven't seen since, they don't know you. And you were just like, how about I get fat like you?
I did not say that. I
didn't say that. How about I get fat? Can you imagine me fat? Oh.
Number 6, OCD. Everything in my house has to be a certain way, has to be done in certain ways, has to be kept in certain ways. Things have to be approached in certain ways. Number 7, obsessing over things that nobody gives a shit about. But me. The earliest obsession I remember having it, and it was quite a big obsession, was when I was 20 was when I was 12 years old, and I was absolutely 100% obsessed with Harry Potter. More precisely, Hermione Granger. Yeah, that was the thing that happened. I used to send her fan letters. Yeah, that also happened. Other obsessions I remember having was over a TV show called Charmed. As a kid, I used to be obsessed with Tomb Raider. I mean, that kind of hasn't gone anywhere. Like, Tomb Raider is still my most favorited game. Recently, I've gotten into the comics, but I'm definitely not as obsessed as I was with it once upon a time. I wouldn't even call myself obsessed, I just like it now. I'm not obsessed with it. Video games of all sorts. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with this so-called secret spy agency that me and my best friend Steven came up with, and I was very obsessed with it. Number 8, constantly being called blunt. Refer to point number 5. Recently, this has been like the most common thing people have been saying about me. I never used to get this before. And then again, I didn't really used to talk much when I was younger. I've been getting a lot more verbal, I guess. Over the past couple of years, making YouTube videos has definitely made me more social, despite me sitting here and talking to a camera. But it has definitely communicate more, speak more. And I guess just over the past couple of years, I've just become more verbal and speaking more rather than just sitting there shy. And I guess that has kind of led to a lot more people calling me blunt these past couple of years. Which isn't nice. I don't think I'm blunt. And when people tell me that I'm blunt, I'm kind of like, huh? What did I don't... Huh? But apparently this is a thing, and nobody has stopped to explain it to me yet. So, useful. Number 9, not understanding menial things such as social norms and public rules. I'm not saying I'm a criminal or a rule breaker, I just sometimes think it's everybody getting too out of hand with many things. And finally, number 10, loneliness. Over the past couple of years, I've been saying this more and more, both to Georgia and my family. Being autistic is very lonely. And now that COVID is a thing, I'm sure there are many people in the world who may be starting to understand the term loneliness, and hopefully COVID is also showing people how difficult it is to want to go outside and socialize with other people, but having restraints. That is basically what it's like to be autistic. But anyway, that is 10 struggles on the spectrum. If you yourself are autistic, feel free to leave a comment below and let me know what struggles you have whilst being on the spectrum. If you're not autistic, feel free to comment below if any of this information has been useful to you. Feel free to hit the like button, subscribe for more content. And just before I sign off, I have one question for you. What is your next adventure?